All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to get into talking about the Saints Eagles game on Sunday. The Eagles picking up a 15-12 victory. And yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. What I was really surprised about was how well the Eagles defense played, because that was my biggest concern going into the game, and also the fact that the Eagles were going to be without A.J. Brown. I just thought the writing was on the wall for the Saints to win this game. However, what do I know? Because I also had one of my coworkers tell me that they felt like the Eagles were going to win, and that's what ended up happening here. You know, the Eagles coming off of that tough loss against the Falcons where they should have won that game. Um, Going up against a team that was scoring over 40 points in their first two contests, and now they're at home. I thought this was going to be a long day for the Eagles, and it was not. Well, shouldn't say that, because it was a long day, and they actually didn't score any of their points until the fourth quarter. And if you look at the total yards by both teams, the Eagles put up 460 yards of total offense to the Saints 219. And the Eagles had no points because they were going for it on fourth down, and the Saints kept stuffing them. Jalen Hurts threw a bad red zone interception. That's still been a problem this year, is him turning the football over. So really, the Eagles should have blew the Saints out in this game, but they didn't. So let's go through the drive summary here, or the game summary. So the Saints, they open up the game, 15 plays, 54 yards, 8 minutes of time of possession. Groupie gets them started with a 34-yard field goal to make it 3-0. The Eagles, they punted on their first possession. The Saints punted. And then the Eagles put together a nice drive. Hurts hits Devontae Smith for 21 yards, hits Dallas Goedert for 43 yards. Dallas Goedert had a big game as well. But they get down to 3rd and 8 at the Saints 11. And Hurts trying to connect with Devontae Smith. It gets intercepted by Tyrann Mathieu. So there goes that. Then the Saints, they punt on their next drive. The Eagles, they fumble. Hurts gets sacked, loses the ball. Saints recover. So, again, turnovers continue to be an issue for Jalen Hurts. Then the Saints punt again. Eagles go 15 plays, 78 yards. They get all the way down to 4th and 1 at the Saints 15. They try a run with Saquon Barkley. He gets stuffed. And they turned it over on downs. And that was the score at the half, was 3-0. Then the Eagles again turn it over on downs. They go 10 plays, 37 yards. They're at the Saints' 34-yard line, and on 4th and 3, Hurts gets sacked for a 6-yard loss. Saints punt again, and then the Eagles punted, but their punt gets blocked. And the Saints turn it over on downs. They go for it on 4th and 1, and Kamara, he gets stuffed. And the game is still 3-0. Then we finally get some scoring in the fourth quarter. Saquon Barkley, 65-yard run from the Eagles' 35-yard line. So that changed the whole complexion of this game to make it 7-3. Saints answered with the field goal to make it 7-6. Groupie hits a 38-yard field goal. Jake Elliott actually missed the field goal. It was a 60-yarder. And then the Saints, they score their first touchdown of the game. Carr connected with Chris Olave for a 29-yard play. And then he connected with Olave again for a 13-yard touchdown. They did not get the 2-point conversion, so that made it 12-7. And then, you got the Eagles at 3rd and 16, right? So, it looks like the Saints are going to be able to, come away with a win here. But nobody was covering Dallas Goedert. Runs a crosser over the middle. Nobody's on the other side of the field. And Goddard, gets them all the way down to the Saints 4. 61-yard reception by Dallas Goedert. And then Barkley takes it from 4 yards out. And they do get the 2-point conversion to make it 15-12. And then the Saints, they get the ball back, and Derek Carr throws a pick, trying to connect with Rashid Shaheed, but it was not a good pass, and it got intercepted by Reed Blankenship. And the Eagles get the win. But like I said, this game could have very easily been a blowout if you look at the total yards. I mean, the Eagles had, like I said, 460 yards of total offense to the Saints 219. They shut this offense down. Derek Carr went 14 of 25 for 142 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Alvin Kamara 26 carries for 87 yards. Chris Olave had 6 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown. Rashid Shaheed was targeted 5 times, no catches. No catches. He did have the opportunity to catch a touchdown from Derek Carr, but he wasn't able to haul it in. So yeah, but he's been good these first 2 weeks, but was it really a no-show against the Eagles here. Saints defense had 4 sacks in this game, and then as for the Eagles, I mean, Jalen Hurts, the turnovers continue to be a problem, but he went 29 to 38, 311 yards, no touchdowns and a pick, also had a fumble. Saquon Barkley continues to play really well for this team, 17 carries for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert was their leading receiver, 10 receptions for 170 yards. Devontae Smith, 7 receptions for 79 yards. Took a vicious hit late in the game, so we'll have to see, what his status is moving forward. Also, Lane Johnson got banged up in this game too. He had to leave the game, I believe. So that's 2 more key pieces on this Eagles offense that are down, and they were already missing A.J. Brown. So other guys are going to have to step up. And then as for the Eagles defense, they only got 1 sack, but they really shut this offense down for the Saints. And that was something that I just did not expect going into this game. I mean, I knew at some point the Saints were going to, hit a wall, and I didn't expect it to be this game. Especially with how the Eagles defense has looked the first 2 games. And again, they still got their issues. I mean, they still need to get a pass rush. I mean, Bryce Huff, who they brought in over from the Jets, has not played well. He hasn't really been able to get pressure on the quarterback. So, yeah, the defense still has some issues. But the fact that they were able to hold the Saints down in that environment and, the way the Saints offense has been playing, that was very impressive. So props to them. And also, I give props to the Eagles offense as well. I mean, Jalen Hurts still turning the ball over, but, without A.J. Brown, without Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert stepped up. And also Saquon Barkley makes a huge difference, and made people, at least for the moment, forget about the drop that he had last week against the Falcons. He looks really good with the Eagles. I mean, there's really no surprise there. I think we all knew that he was going to go in and he was going to perform. And you just see now how he looks behind a better offensive line. He's unbelievable. So, but that was a big win for the Eagles. I didn't expect them to win, especially how the defense looked and missing A.J. Brown. They had the odds stacked against them, but they were able to go in there and get the win. And now the Saints are back to reality. Now, are the Saints going to just go in this tailspin? I don't think so. I think you still got good enough players. The defense, it's not like the defense didn't, play well at times. They got stops on 4th down when they needed to. They got turnovers in this game. So, but I mean, yeah, the Eagles almost had 500 yards of offense on them, but they made key stops when they had to. So, I'm not ready to say that the Saints are just, all right, back to reality with them. But they're not as good as those first 2 weeks showed us. You look at who they beat, the Panthers, and you look at how bad the Cowboys defense has been playing. There were reasons for that, for the Saints putting up 40 points. But I still think this team is going to hang around, be a team that competes in the NFC South. And they got a big game coming up against the Falcons in Atlanta next week. So, that's a huge divisional matchup early on. The both teams, the Falcons are 1-2 after dropping that close game to the Chiefs. And, we'll see what happens there. And then as for the Eagles, they take on the Bucs in Tampa. So another NFC South opponent. And, the Bucs, I mean, they laid an egg against the Broncos on Sunday. So, we'll see if they can bounce back. But I was very impressed by the Eagles in this game. See, this is the team. Now, once you get A.J. Brown, and you hope Devontae Smith is not out long term, but, once you get this offense healthy, and if this defense can play like that, this is why I said the Eagles are going to return to how they were in 2022. Because you got so much talent on this offense. You add Saquon Barkley, and, the defense should be better, and they stepped up when they had to. So I give them a lot of credit there. But they got to continue that. They're playing against the Bucs. I think the Bucs are definitely going to play better than they did this past week against the Broncos. So, the Eagles, and they lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs. Some of the worst tackling that I've ever seen. Let's see if they can avenge that playoff loss. And you know what? The way things look right now, you would lean towards that being the case. But we'll see. We'll see. So let me know what you guys think, though, about this game. What were some of your takeaways from it? I mean, the fact that the Eagles had almost 500 yards of total offense in this game, and they didn't get any of their points until the fourth quarter, that's why football is just such a wacky sport. And that's the NFL for you. This was another wacky week, but yeah, that was a big win. That was a big win, and the Saints, they had their opportunities too to put up points, and they couldn't cash in. So yeah, we'll see what happens next week when these two teams go up against the Saints against the Falcons, the Eagles against the Buccaneers. So we're gonna take our next break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about the Panthers picking up their first win of the season. We'll talk about another NFC South team. We'll get into the specifics of that game, as well as talking about the Raiders and a disappointing loss there. Andy Dalton making his return, becoming the starting for the Panthers in this game. Started in a game last year for them, but after this performance, he looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward. And yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Bryce Young, what this means for him, all that good stuff when we come back from our next break here. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.